Welcome back. You're watching Hope TV News, which really do apologize for the slight technical hitch, but we are now back. Now, 22 cabinet secretaries are now rendered jobless following President William Ruto's decision to fire his cabinet, with the exemption of Prime Cabinet Secretary Musalia Mudavadi and his deputy Rigathi Gachagua. Now, the decision by President Ruto will definitely have implications on various aspects of the government and the country as a whole. To help us dissect this move by the head of state, I'm now joined in studio by former presidential running mate Muthiora Karriara and political risk analyst Esther Nyonje. Karibuni sana to the studio.
Thank you.
Esther, let me begin with you. Are you satisfied with President William Ruto's move to fire his cabinet?
I am halfway, or say quarter, satisfied with his move to dissolve cabinet, because it came from the voice of the people, and the president having to listen to the voice of the people is a win for democracy. It is not a win for William Ruto. It's a win for the people. And I say it's the second win, because the first win was when the people asked the president to withdraw the finance bill, and he did withdraw it. Why I say I'm halfway satisfied is because he did not have to be told that. When we voted for William Ruto, and most of the people who went to the streets to protest against his government are the same people who voted for him. And when we went to the streets to agitate our issues, we laid them down to him, and he took some time. He took his sweet time. It took lives. It took loss of property. It took back and forth blame games to get us to where we are, which should not be the case. Ideally, it is people who should be addressing the president and telling them what he should do, not the other way. That is how democracy works. But also thinking about it, the problem is not just William Ruto. I say the problem is the system. It is the system that has brought us to this place, that a president can campaign on a manifesto and say all the things he's gonna do, and then when he gets to power, he does the direct opposite. Because when we voted for him, we thought he's going to streamline the system, but he went there and became part of that system. So having said that, the fight is against the system.
The system.
Corruption, the high debt. Like you see, the debt is it's an acquired debt that you acquire from your previous president. So when he went there, we expected him to bring the debt down, not continue borrowing. So the problem is the system, and he needs to take tough measures to fight that system, because you understand that this is not the only youth uprising that we've had that has brought reforms to Kenya. You know? And then with the era of new democracy and the digital uprising, Kenyans are more aware, they are more informed. We are products of the national curriculum that taught us, that we read books like The Enemy of the People and Damu Nyeusi and Mstahiki Meya. So we are informed, and we'll have to keep him accountable. So it is a good start, but he has a lot of work to do. And he himself said that people have high expectations on him. So he should be up to the task, na ajue apo sikulala.
All right, you've heard what Esther said, and let me pick your mind on the same. President William Ruto is not just a president, he's a politician, and many have termed him a smart politician in that sense. Does President William Ruto has hidden cards in all this?
Well, I think he's moved most of the pieces he had on the board, and right now he's got just one more move left, which is exit Dr. William Samoei Ruto. For him to govern, he needed a cabinet. He's fired it, save for the one person that's currently left. The people are thankful for that move, but then they're saying he needs to go the whole hog, which is, it's not just the cabinet that let Kenya down, it's also the president or the presidency. So, yes, someone needed to fire the cabinet, and that's the president. Now, what he is left to do, together with his deputy, is to say, we are also stepping aside so you Kenyans can figure out who can get this job done as you've demanded for it to be done. Because clearly, we seem not to be getting what you guys are saying.
All right. You've talked about the resignation of the presidency. And the sacking of cabinet secretaries has political implications. And how does the mass sacking of the CSs affect the political stability of the country at the moment?
Well, to begin with, let me put the record straight that from the very beginning when this cabinet was appointed, I was opposed to its composition because, number one, it had people who had court cases that were going on about corrupt dealings with which they had been charged. You look at the mismatch of competencies and qualifications, and you realize that it didn't appear from the very beginning like these people are being hired to come get a proper job done. So we ended up with a very uninspiring and incompetent cabinet. And the results that we have today do not surprise us because that's what you expect. You put in garbage, you will get garbage out of the system. So that aside, let's ask ourselves, how did we get here? We got here because the president was looking to reward those who had helped him to get elected president. So he didn't just look at their qualifications and competencies. He was looking to say, thank you very much for bringing in the votes. You may not have clinched the position you wanted, but then since I got the position that we were gunning for, here is a reward for you. And then for you, because you did a bit more, you can step down from the position for which you were elected. Come, let's serve where we have more flesh or more meat to eat. Because clearly, he didn't have to ask people like Murkomen to step down. Kenya has over 50 million people. And adults who are qualified, believe me, we have quite a number. So he didn't have to ask people who already had jobs to do for Kenyans to resign. So I will say this is just one of the steps that he needs to take. There is more to come, but then the picture is going to be complete when he steps down and asks Kenyans to figure out who will get the job done.
All right.
But you see, when we asked the president to step down, in my opening remarks, I said the problem is the system. The system is producing, the system has the same people producing the same results, you know? So when we ask the president to step down, constitutionally, we are looking at Rigathi Gachagua, who is still part of that system. So we won't be solving the problem. We'll be stepping away for a while, but not really addressing, putting a bandage on the wound, not treating the disease. So I really feel William Ruto he's the duly elected president. And the democracy that works for us is also the democracy that works for him. So because he was duly elected, why not why not go on with his term, with people being accountable, with him being accountable to people, and people also playing their part to keeping him on toes. And where he goes wrong, then we can put him out. And we need to see the tangible steps that he is taking to fix that system. Like what he's done is for a start. Now we look forward to what kind of CSS is he going to work with. Because you see, he said he's going to eliminate wastage, to bring out unnecessary duplication of government agencies and slay the dragon that is corruption. So I really feel we should give him a chance. We should give him some time to see if he's actually going to do what he's going to do. And I don't think he has a card because he had underrated this movement. We were being told sisi ni watu wa KFC. Like, You are kids, you can't tell us anything. They had underrated this movement, but they realized that this is bigger than it seems.
Muthiora, you've seen the president, the attorney general, the former attorney general, Justin Muturi, say that the president does not take advice. Now, the fact that the cabinet has been dissolved,
Yeah.
and President William Ruto does not take advice, meaning that, allegedly, that the president is the one who advises the cabinet secretaries on what to do. So if Atoli appoints a new cabinet,
Yeah.
and he cannot take advice, how is that going to work?
It's still not going to work. And here is a hypothesis I have held for quite some time now. When he appointed that very incompetent cabinet, my thoughts were, he's done this because he wants to run the ministries from State House. So he just needs figureheads out there in the field, but in reality, the person doing the job, the person calling the shots in every ministry and department is William Ruto from State House. Now, it's a good thing that insiders are now coming to the public and saying, we attempted to give competent advice to the president. He did not take it. Sometimes when he should have consulted us, he did not. He went ahead and did that which he thought was right as per whatever information he had or what his judgment told him. So even now, where we are at, suppose it's true that he has fired this cabinet because he's listened to Kenyans who have said, we do not want this incompetent cabinet. If indeed he listened to the people and did that, then he should also have heard that the people are not just dissatisfied by the performance of the cabinet, but by his own performance as well. So even if he goes on to appoint another cabinet, there is no guarantee that he's going to allow them to discharge their duties without him impeding into how they get that done. So still, we could find ourselves where we are today.
At the moment.
Otherwise, we should just go back to whatever we've been agitating, that Mr. President, listen to the people. And if you can't hear what the people are saying, then you have no business sitting on the presidency.
He has listened to the people, has he not? We asked him, the president wanted this finance bill passed. With his last gut, he wanted it passed. But at the last moment, before people said we are coming to occupy State House, he withdrew.
Because he was threatened.
Yes, if it has
And
to take the threats for him to do that, then let's do it. That's the
not
way
listening.
we're going to go.
That's coercion. And here is the other thing you need to look at. His action today of firing the entire cabinet and leaving Musalia Mudavadi in office speaks volumes to the character of the man. And that is, number one, we know that he's tried to use Parliament to sanitize the position of the Prime Cabinet Secretary. But still, it doesn't hold. If indeed he listens, because this matter has been conversed in our courts, it has been conversed in our barazas, and established that we do not need to have this office. But
Right.
still, even when he had this very amazing courage and fired everyone, he still left this unconstitutional office in place.
Well,
That doesn't look like someone who listens.
well, you say it's coercion, it's what? I say the end justifies the means. We do not have a 23 finance bill, and we do not have the same cabinet secretaries we were against. And he's not traveling. He's now holding virtual meetings in his office. The president is listening. Even if he did not want to listen, it has taken for something to happen for him to calm down his high horses. And about the office of the Prime
Cabinet
CS,
Secretary.
very unconstitutional. And that was one of the things that brought him all these problems. So him leaving it there, I'm looking it at as a way of someone had to run government, and it fell on Musalia Mudavadi. And I tend to think that Musalia Mudavadi has a special favor because Moi wanted him, Kibaki wanted him, Uhuru wanted him, and now Ruto is still wanting him. But I'm looking at it this way, that this might be a short-term thing, very unconstitutional, yes. But you know, we are coming from, we can just wake up and the democracy changes and everything changes. We are taking the baby steps, and this is what it takes. It's the slow steps that are going to get us to where we want to be. So that office, I'm looking at it like it's going to be there for a while, and then we shall revisit. Because soberly speaking, I am saying that office is unconstitutional. You've taken the first step of firing your whole cabinet secretaries and your whole cabinet. So let him hold the office, yes, for PR purposes, fine.
Esther, what are you saying?
Yes, I am saying that, but we shall revisit, because the cabinet cannot stay with the president and the deputy president. And I'm saying we are coming from somewhere.
Now, isn't that
even the fight against corruption and the fight against unconstitutionalism won't happen in a day? You have to agree with me. It won't happen in a day. Today it is sacking the... Why are we not talking about the IG? So let us start, why are we not talking about the Nairobi Adam Bungei, the Nairobi police spokesman? Because these things have to take time. And this person is coming from a very deep-rooted system that has instilled some very weird values in him. So let's appreciate it, not so much appreciating and losing the sight, but let us appreciate the baby steps that we are taking and keep the fight on.
Modera, you had something to say?
Yes, and it's with regard to saying that this is unconstitutional, but let's just do it. Esther, to get Kenya to where Kenya needs to be, we have to drain the swamp. That is, sweep
and we take
clean.
The steps. We take the steps
now,
to drain the swamp.
Bear in mind that the accounting officer in the ministries is the principal secretary. So we may not have cabinet secretaries, but then we have people running those ministries today. If Musalia Mudavadi was this stellar performer, we would have something to write about him by now. But then the fact that the cabinet he was overseeing had to be fired in totality speaks to his incompetence. He has no space in Kenya's leadership today. He was there during President Moi's time. He was there during President Kibaki's time. Uhuru, as you say, wanted him close by. I think if we were to be fair, he's had his chance. It's time we tried something else, someone else. That way, maybe Kenya will move to where it needs to be. We've been on a decline. It's time to stop the slide. And the only way to do that is stop digging, because you're already in a hole. Anything that is unconstitutional needs to be overturned. In fact, we should be asking for a refund from these cabinet secretaries for having been in office and not fulfilled that which they were getting paid to do. And they were not being paid pennies. They were being compensated heftily.
All right, Esther, as a political risk analyst, are we foreseeing another handshake government?
No. It cannot happen. It will not happen. And your points hold water. And yes, if the president was sincere about all this, then I don't see the point of Musalia Mudavadi. But again, I am thinking it as a point of the steps that I'm talking about, that we shall revisit. We are not going to sleep on our job. Today, I am happy, and my excitement has taken over that I'm not even giving so much thought into that office, but I'm still saying we shall revisit. We shall revisit about the position of the IG. We shall revisit about the Nairobi spokesman. We shall revisit about the report that hasn't come out about the lives that have been lost out of this finance bill. You saw the Prime Minister of UK apologizing to the people for failing to deliver. We also want the president to stand and say that Kenyans, I am sorry. I put you in this position. You know, these are the things we want to see. So that one, I say put a pin on it. And then you say that, your question again?
Are we foreseeing a handshake government?
Now, the handshake government, with the meeting that the president had yesterday with Raila Odinga, it came out to Kenyans like that there was a possibility of another handshake government.
Yeah.
But so many things are happening, Kennedy, and most of these things are unprecedented things, things that you would never think about, you know? The president firing his CSs, the president finally seeming to calm down. These are things that the Gen Zs uprising to speak to the president. Now it's not even about Raila Odinga, who, these are things that, honestly, if anyone would see it, you would never have seen it coming, to be honest. But when he met Raila Odinga yesterday and everyone was on the thoughts that he wants another handshake government, I don't know if it happened overnight. In fact, I'm not even sure if this CS decision happened overnight or it was part of his plan. It could have happened overnight because maybe he saw that, maybe he had the uproar. Because you saw Raila Odinga, one day he was with Ruto and the next day he comes and says that nimewasikia, nimesikia mnataka kunisalimia, kwa hivyo nimesikia mtaki dialogue, ni sawa. So you see, it's like they don't even know what they're doing. They are moving here and there, here and there. And now they have known that there is a voice, there is power with these people. So there is no time to mess up and bring us the same nonsense that we've been witnessing all over again and repeating the same mistakes that make us end up in the same place. So I don't think, okay, I'm confident to say that there will be no handshake government because the president is aware. He is aware. And you know, people, I've had a thought that Hitler became more dictatorial when people tried to rise up against him. And now there's a thought that the president would also be more dictatorial. I say, let him try it.
Let him try it. Do you agree that there will not be a handshake government?
The people will not allow for another handshake government. You remember Kenya was going to the dogs with Uhuru and Ruto in the previous regime. And then when a handshake happened, now we had 3 people doing the messing up of this nation. Kenyans have learned, and they are not going to allow for the opposition to go into bed with the government. The reason we are calling for William Ruto to step down is because he has showed his unwillingness to heed to the cry and the call of the people. If he did listen, we would not have a problem with him, because all we are asking is, you gave us a manifesto, we bought it. You are elected president. You took out of office. You promised to deliver. You have not. Can you at least commit to go back to the oath you took? If he can, even though the evidence says he's not likely to, Kenyans have no problem with that. But we are raising eyebrows when he takes very decisive action, but then stops short of completing the swing. Today, he had an opportunity to earn my trust by actually firing the whole cabinet, starting with the prefect of the cabinet. But he failed to do so. The next thing, after he's done cleaning up the government, he needs to go back to his party. He has the backing of the political party's fund. He has the levers of power. He can show the way by cleaning that up too, so that the elections they are currently undertaking, they've been doing elections piecemeal.
Yeah.
They actually carry them out in a way that shows he's aware that he's been entrusted the responsibility of leading a great nation. Because Kenya is not a banana republic, and he should not act as though Kenyans are not aware of that fact. So we give him the benefit of the doubt between now and tomorrow, but by Friday, he should have fired Musalia Mudavadi, if Musalia Mudavadi will not have resigned by then.
All right. Are we foreseeing any potential political alliances from this fallout in the cabinet?
Political alliances. Huh. I would say it's too early to tell because this space has been so dynamic. I think it's shifting by night. I really think it's shifting by night because, like I said, I'm not even sure if the president had purposed to fire his cabinet secretaries today, or it's because he saw something, or something came up in the meanwhile and he saw that was the best fit decision. So to say to form political alliances right now, this would be way too early because we don't even know if we'll get to 2027, you know? And then I have seen there are some politicians who want to take advantage of this whole thing. They want to take advantage of the Gen Z protests. They want to take advantage of the destabilization of government. And remember, Kennedy, we do need a government. It's very, very important to have a government. Not at one point should you sit and wish that we stayed in a lawless state, even for 1 hour, you know? So there are people who have tried to take advantage of this, starting with the politicians, leaders, people who have been hurt from the previous elections, people who have failed, they have missed a piece of the cake. So everyone has different reasons at this time. And at this heated time, in fact, I would urge Kenyans to relax and now start to re-strategize again because all of us have been on our high horses. But it takes time for us to relax, reflect, and then re-strategize on now what we want to go forward. Because even if we say we want to go to the streets, we can't go to the streets every day without accountability. We need accountability. So with the political alliances, those leaders most of them have their own different interests. And until things come to a place where we are now sober, now we can start thinking. And now thinking about that, I'm a proponent of progressive democracy. That I'm applauding this tape because I feel it's going to set a precedence for future leaders. Future leaders will now realize they should have realized that, yes, a long time ago, but they were lost and deluded in power, playing too much politics, forgetting about how politics should play. But now, it's an awakening. This protest, this whole thing has been an awakening to our leadership, to our government, that power belongs to the people. So you could be forming your alliances, but power belongs to the people. By 2027, I'm also optimistic that by 2027, we could be talking about ideologies. We could be talking about, did you build that road for us? How have you spent the CDF money? Are there enough schools? Is there enough medicine in hospitals? Is there enough personnel? So we won't be looking at you are ODM, you are UDA, you are what? You voted yes to the finance bill. You know, I don't want to say I feel those are the things we'll be looking at that time. So if we were to have political alliances right now, trust me, they will be dead by by 2026 at the beginning. It will be out.
All right. Are we foreseeing formation of political alliances at the moment? Because we saw during the Uhuru Kenyatta government, when the fallout between Ruto and Uhuru came about, we saw the rise of the Tanga Tanga faction, which brought about the UDA. So are you going to see the same in this situation?
It's unlikely to happen, at least in the near future. Right now, the president is fighting for his own survival. And to do that, he must accede to the demands by the people. And the people at this point want him to deliver a few things that he should have delivered already. Number one, they started by saying, we are rejecting the finance bill. So that had to go. He did that. The march to State House was halted, or at least temporarily suspended. And then we went to item number 2, the cabinet needs to go. Today, he ceded to that demand, except he's not finished the job. Now, there is another item on queue, which is you need to reconstitute the IEBC, because the people are keen on recalling the members of parliament who sold them out when they said we do not want the Finance Bill 2024 becoming an act of parliament. So when he's done with that, he's going to have to address the other matters. And to get those done, you do not need to come together with anyone else in the name of organizing politically, because the people know that dialogue has not gotten them the results that they have desired. So still no more dialogue. What political affiliations and alliances do is they sort of throw a rag on top of the trash, but then the trash is still beneath the surface. And the people at this point are not interested in band-aid. They want real solutions. So it's unlikely that within the next 6 months, political alliances are going to save these governments. What's going to save these governments is action. So we hope before the week ends, the whole cabinet is swept clean. After that's done, then we get to the other important matters that are not so critical. The government committed to hiring the intern doctors. Let them do that. Pensionable and permanent basis modes of employment for the JSS teachers.
Yeah.
Those are quick wins for this government. If the president keeps delivering on such things, he will not need political alliances. That will buy him time.
All right. Now that the president has dissolved the cabinet, what next?
What next is looking at the office of the Prime CS, as Modiora says. I think the hashtag should be fix the system. Fix the entire system. He has dissolved the cabinet. That is a good step. He has said that he's going to deal with the burden of debt. He's going to raise domestic resources, expand job opportunities, and he has said that he wants to create an inexpensive, effective, and efficient government. And he's doing that through extensive consultations across different sectors of political formation, what he called a broad-based government approach. That he has said he's going to sit down and listen to multi-stakeholders, listen to experts, listen to people, listen to even us, the Gen Zs, civil society, not the IMF and creating a one-man show. So at the end of the day, we are still going to come back to talking. Though I didn't want to, I was never about dialogue, but with this tape, I feel like we should now come back to the drawing board, but not creating another report and then adding paperwork over more administrative paperwork. But what we want to see now are actions. Now, what he has done today, that was one action. We are talking about the Office of the Prime CS. That's also another action. Regaining our and restructuring our debt. We want to hear him listen to experts, what experts have their views. And you see, the good thing is that these experts also come and tell us that, you know, the president listens to us or he does not listen to us. So we want to see the tangible actions. Let him even give a report. Like I also said, apologize. First, apologize to Kenyans. Give a report by himself. The president until this time has not spoken or has not willingly admitted that these anti-finance protest bills led to loss of lives, destruction of property. We have abductions. No one is speaking about it. So there's still much to be done. And speaking about the cabinet restructuring, that will need an administrative framework. And the results will still come back to us because we'll still have to see what he has done. But what we want to see more are more handy actions, like what accountability of the protests, We want to see him as speaking about the families that have lost their lives, because I saw some Kenyans on X saying that he boldly sent condolences to Bishop Kiuna, who, rest in peace, who passed away, but he has not even spoken about Rex Masai. He has not spoken about the young person who was found yesterday in a dam. So you see, we want action.
Actions. Muthiora, you actually vied for the presidency at some point.
Yes.
And what will you advise President William Ruto at this moment? What type of cabinet should he form next?
Number one, he needs to form a cabinet that fully conforms to the tenets of our constitution. One, without the position of a prime cabinet secretary. He needs to make it lean. He needs to make it effective. He needs to hire competent and suitable people who will not need instructions from his office to run the dockets they'll be manning. He needs to appoint a cabinet that is inspiring. Because what happened when he appointed the cabinet that has been serving is investors, and by investors I mean foreign investors, they would look at our cabinet and say, wait, what's going on in Kenya? And as they are thinking about it, they would take their money and put it in Tanzania, put it in Ethiopia, when in fact they would get better returns in our market. So if he is serious about surviving, which is a good thing, that right now William Ruto is fighting for his survival, then he needs not to make the same mistake. Kenya is blessed with a rich pool of human resource. Today I heard the ODM deputy party leader throw his credentials out there that he's willing to be part of the cabinet if appointed to serve. And I would like to tell the president that he needs not look at people who have served and their record does not scream from the rest. It's time for new ideas. Nobody thought that the Gen Z movement had as much power, but because they got an opportunity, we now know what a great nation this can be. Let him reach out to the rich human resource that Kenya has. Let him tap onto the passion of the youth. Let him tap onto this patriotism bug that has beaten Kenyans, and then let him back off and let those he appoints do the job. Kenyans want better for this nation. They are willing to give their all. Let him lead by example.
Lead by example. As we conclude, your final remarks. If you met the president, what will you tell him?
He has to gain public confidence and trust and legitimacy, because he really let us down big time. He let us down in all ways, to a point where he would do something that is constitutional, but people would still say, is he really being honest? Or, you know, when a perennial liar says the truth, you don't know if it's true or it's just one of his lies. So he needs to get back that public confidence and let him work over and go aboard to get back the people to his side. It's going to take time. It's going to take a lot, but he needs to do that. And also, yes, I talked about the steps, but really thinking about it, that office should be off. That office should be out. And that's why we're talking about building back public confidence, because you can't go into it half-heartedly. I have seen him talk about also clearing the political culture and the political etiquette that has been existing, that even he has been the leader of that, because he has been buying MPs left, right, and center. He has been using money to get his way here and there. So he said he'll do some soul searching, and I hope he has. Someone asked him to once see a therapist. I really think he should. It's not even a joke. He really should see that therapist, because if he's coming from a place where he was running a one-man show to come down to listen to the people, then he needs that peace and calm inside him to actually do that. So in clearing that political culture, because I heard him talk about the EACC being stringent about harambes, they need to put up a regulation about checking on MPs who are still using harambes as a political tool. Now, things like that slowly might build up our political culture, and the people will decide whether they're satisfied with him or not. But he has to work his way and get back our trust.
All right. There's something you wanted to say?
Well, I suppose Kenyans are asking themselves, what's the end game? The end game is a great nation, one where every citizen abhors corruption, has values, and is willing to put Kenya first. That's the country we want William Ruto to point us to. And we all will work with him to get it done.
And also to finish, to crown it all, the fight against corruption doesn't just take the government only, but also the people. The fight against corruption, to better transparency, to better accountability, to having political ethics and social ethics, it also takes us as citizens. So as we keep our government accountable, let's also not accept handouts from the politicians. I loved it that we started it with Occupy churches. We said no politicians should come to churches. So let us keep that fire on and not give up. Let us take the space and know that it takes us and them and all actors to get into that space, the better Kenya we want to be.
All right, it's actually a personal responsibility, and that's a good point to end our discussion tonight. That has been Muthiora Karriera, former presidential running mate, and Esther Nyonje, political risk analyst. Thank you so much for your time.
Thanks for having us.
And with that, you come to the end of Hope TV Newswatch on this day. Many thanks to you for making time for us. We really do appreciate the value of your time. On behalf of the amazing team that made this bulletin a success, have yourselves a blessed night. My name is Kennedy Kimani.